Good morning, everybody. Right, seems the microphone is working today. That's always good. All right, it's yet another hot day here in Spain. I've got my melting ice cream t-shirts on because that's what it's like here. I hope everyone had a nice weekend. I don't know about you, what you got up to, but I jumped through a waterfall. It was very nice. Anyway. It's good to clear the mind and get the work-life balance right. Yes, sometimes it's hard to remember this. But anyway, let's go. Right, so what are we doing? We're trying to do this stuff still, but slightly rearranged. So on Friday we started a stream, and what we wanted to do was create a loadout file, have it be ready for the tool to read in and add things to and then write back out again. But the problem with that was that we had to put the name of the CSV file in the project file itself. But the project files, the expectations in the tests were such that there was an exact match. And you can't do an exact match if the name of the file that you're using, the place of the temporary file it's in, is changing every single time you run the test, because it'll never pass, basically. It'll never pass. So what we had to do is start transitioning the tests to use the builder pattern, where we use Serde to create JSON objects to write these, and then serialize these JSON objects to a file, which was all manner of fun. All manner of fun it was. We made some good progress though. And after the stream, I spent about another 10 minutes on Friday and today just updating one of the tests so that we say our expected project content uses the builder with a name, assignments, processes, part, state, and now all the placements that this test needs. And this test now passes, which means we can now delete all the old content that we previously had. Happy days. And this test should now still pass, which is, yeah, it still passes, which is great. The next test still has the expected project content like this. So we need to update this one now and say old here. And then take the same stuff that we had before using this builder pattern and move that, or copy that to this one, and then update this. Let's run it and see what happens. And then let's have a look at what was actually produced, which was correct, because the test passed previously, and compare it to what our builder is currently producing. So yeah, what have we got? We've got more part states. Let's see what's going on here. Right, so the part states now have processes assigned to it, because that's what this test is about. It's about assigning processes to parts. So we need to update the part state so that it's got details of this applicable process. Okay, is there anything else that we need to do? Yes, and this test also uses an updated CSV file with parts in it, and therefore one of the previously known parts becomes unknown, and a new part and placement is added to the list. So let's deal with the placements first, which is not that bit, this one. So one of these becomes unknown, and then a new one is added, which is the R2 one, which we can remember. And one of them becomes unknown. Who remembers which one it was? It was C1 becomes unknown. So C1 is defined up here, and this needs to change to unknown, right? So if we run this again, there should be fewer differences. I was teaching someone the difference, a non-English speaker, the difference between fewer and less the other day. Yes, on Saturday. As an English person, it's sort of your duty to tell non-English people the difference. Who knows the difference? Answers in the chat, please. What is the difference between less and fewer? Go. Right. Where are we? C1 still. Okay. Why? Did I not press the right button? Did I not click it? Hold on. Perhaps I didn't press the button. Click to see difference. Yeah, I didn't. Maybe that was the old one. Right, so we shouldn't have any difference in the placement section. We don't. Fantastic. Right, so now we've got to deal with the applicable processes. So there should be applicable processes for cap 1 now. Well, so cap 1 gets removed from the list and gets replaced by res 2. Right. Cap 1 be gone, res 2 appears. And then all of the ones that are here now have applicable processes. So we need to deal with that. So we've got this unit thing here at the moment, which we probably need to replace with something, which probably needs to be, I don't know, something. Let's update this first and generate the code that needs this thing. So part states is used here, and this is where we create this empty map. So let's start by creating the output and then updating the method signatures after that. Let's go state map. Sure. Right, yay, we've got a state map. So in this thing, this state map contains one thing with an array in it. Okay, so we need to push an array to it. So we go state map, insert, and then the name of this was applicable processes. Okay, and the value of this is an array, and it has processes, let's say. Therefore we need to create processes. So we can go let, I don't know, let mut processes is a value of type array with a vector of could we use strings directly before when we're creating an array? Do we have another array? I can't remember. Do we have another one? Array. Array. No, you can't. You have to go, you have to map the list to, yeah, right. Yeah. We have to do this kind of thing, don't we? Let's borrow this. Let's borrow that. Where's the part map? Somewhere here. No, I've lost what I was working on. State map I'm looking for. Here it is. So we've got this processing, but this is the wrong process. This needs to be like applicable processes. Let me paste this content in, right. And then let's look at the array that we had here a moment ago. Array, and then you give it some string values based on the applicable processes. Right, so we'll delete that, fix this indentation, and we basically do the same thing, but we need this now. This needs to be to string. We don't need a separate thing here, we can just put it in line here, so yeah, okay, that's fine. So we need this applicable processes, so let's make that. So it needs to contain a vector of strings, and that is going to be defined here. Right, and then we've got values here. Do we use this values? So many things. So we've got this values and we've got this values, and they're different things. Let's call this. Let's make this. I don't know. What do we need? We need to pick up the processes somewhere, but it's not just this. Let's just make it that for now. Or shall we? Let's say it's a reference to a tuple that contains just that. Yeah. Right. So this then needs to become a tuple structure with I'm not entirely sure what needs to be in here. Yeah, it's a tuple structure with a reference to a list of strings, I think. Currently that's all that's in it. We've got an array of things, and one of those things contains these things, and that thing contains those things. Oh dearie me. I guess we don't need a tuple structure there just yet. Right, so that should keep that happy, but this part states is not right now, so this needs to be a reference to some strings with the same lifetime. Okay, and then with part states is used in two places. One of them is here where we need to supply the list. So here we can say PnP. And that's going to be the same with these ones. But it needs to be a reference to a string. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. And the array needs to be we need to pass a slice of these things. Right, fine. Okay, so that one fixes that, but with part states is also used somewhere else, which was the first one. So this now needs to be updated to an empty list where there's no processes assigned to it. Yes. Okay, let's see what happens now. Okay, the third test passed. That's good. But we broke the first one. And the reason is because we added an object. So we shouldn't be adding the object to the array unless the list is not empty. That's okay. We can fix that. So somewhere here we've got this applicable processes. We only should be adding this if this has got stuff in it. So if it's not empty, then do it. There we go. There we go. Pass, pass, pass. Happy days. Hi, eat lemon. I saw your thing there a minute ago. Hope you're having a nice day. Have you got your coffee? Are you, what are you up to? Are you writing some code as well? Or are you building drones? Right. Next test. Right, so this one is failing. This one's failing because it's got the name of like a CSV file in it. And this is the test that we're trying to update. We're finally getting somewhere. Right. So we've got this expected project content, and this obviously needs to be temporarily moved. Oh, we can remove the old one from here, can't we? There we go. It should make this test a little bit more concise. Yeah, it does. That's good. So we're going to start with a copy of the old project content in the fourth test. And then see if we can spot the differences. There's a couple of ways of spotting the differences. But let's have a look at what was actually created the last time we just run it. So we've got the name of a loadout file which is wrong at the moment, and that's the thing that we're trying to fix. So everything else is the same. Well, it won't be. Okay, let's leave that comparison failure there, and now run it again with the updated expected content, and then let's look at the difference here. Ideally we want a three-way diff here. So we're adding a phase, so we've got this new phase section. Let's see if any of the expected content is different from the actual content other than the phase. No. So we're basically just now dealing with adding this, finally. So we need to go, where do we do it? Phases, placements, with phases. Phases or phase? Phases. And we're going to need to supply some phases. What do we need to supply for this? We need to supply an array. So we go with a slice, like we did before. And in that slice, we're going to need some form of object-y thing, because it's got a name, it's got key, and it's got like a value. So if we say the tuple structure with a key, which is going to be top 1, and then it's going to have these other things in, well, what's it going to have here? It's just basically for arguments. I mean, I don't know whether we need the second tuple. We don't need a... Yeah, okay, we'll just pass them all in. Should we pass them all in or do it like this with another tuple structure? Let's sort of keep it separate with another tuple structure. So we've got top one being a reference. Yeah, and I kind of really want test objects right here. And we've got PnP. I guess we don't need to pass this in. Let's just pass them all in like this, because it's duplicated, isn't it? And then we've got the name of a loadout file. So somewhere in this test, we've got the name of, we might have a name of a loadout file. But I think we put it in the context, didn't we? So let's see if we can get it out of the context. Context dot phase 1 loadout. And what is this? This is a path buff. So if we say .toStir on this, and then that's finally our thing that changes every single test. And then the last thing we've got is PCB side, which is going to be top, like this. There we go. Right. So now we can create this method. Oh, what happened there? That was the wrong thing. Create method. There we go. Then we can delete the duplicate impl and then move this to the right place, which will be, I don't know, somewhere down here. Let's just keep them in the order that we added them. We can reorder these at some point. So this is what going to be a phases here, I suppose. And we need to return self because it's a build pattern. And we're going to need to use the lifetime of everything in the same way that we did. And this needs to be, it needs to consume self. We need to use the lifetime. Everything needs to have at least the lifetime of the builder or longer. And there might not only be one of these, we want a slice. We're good. This shouldn't be an option. Yeah, we can probably use dot unwrap here. It should always be there. And if this fails, then there's a problem with the test setup. Okay, back to where we were. Right, so now we've got the signature of this phases thing. We can go self dot phases equals phases and then return self. Just like the other ones do. But we don't have phases, so I copied it to the clipboard, so let's just add it, because we know that the IDE is failing to do this, and it needs to be optional, because that's what we said. Because you might not have the phases yet. Got the wrong thing there, typed the wrong thing, there we go, phases. Right, so now we've got that, now we can add them in the same way that we're doing the other ones. And where do we need to add these things? So the comparison failure said the phases need to be added before the placements. So we go here, we go self.phases, and then we need to do something with it. But only if we've got them. Right. So we've got our tuple structure. So we need to iterate over these phases and then add each one. Fine. And then we need to, do the same thing as this, right? So we'll borrow this. And then we're going to say it's sort of the same thing as this. and then we collect them. And now we need to fill in the blanks. So this blank here is the same as this. Yes, I know it's not pretty. We might come back and poke this around. We don't need to specify lifetimes here though. But we do need the names of these things. So the first one was the reference. The second one was the process. Yeah. The third one was the load out source, which currently is the name of a file. And then the fourth one was the PCB side. Fine. Okay, so now we need to return something a bit like we do somewhere in here. Let's look at what we need to create. So we need to create another array. Yeah, so we need to create a value, of type array with something in it. The first thing is a value of type string, which is the reference. Yeah, but it needs to be a string. The next thing is a value of object type, which needs phase map, sorry. So now we need to create a phase map. And we need to add things to it. So phase map dot insert, yeah. And then we need to insert a reference, which has a value of the reference converted to a string. But this needs to be mutable. And this also needs to be a string. Oh, this needs to be a string value. I keep forgetting this. Which needs to be a string, right? Okay, and then the value of the reference needs to be. Sorry, the next one is process. Let's just duplicate all of these. Was it process? Yeah. So we'll do the keys and then we'll come back and do the values. Because they're all very similar. Okay. Phase map. A vec of values. What's missing here? Wait, what did we do? How did we create this? Oh, sorry, yes. We need a vec of these things here. There we go. Do we keep the comma here? I suppose we should. Right. Maybe it might pass. No. Oh, yes. We definitely need to do that. Right, so it doesn't pass, but why not? Probably because they haven't done the production code right, but... Ooh. The phases didn't get added. Did we not call this method? Yeah, we said with phases. We made this mistake on Friday as well, didn't we? I'm sure. Probably because we forgot to add duh. Forgot to change that to phases. It overwrote the other key, I imagine. Okay. How about now? No. Okay, let's look at the difference now. Okay, so we've got a difference in the formatting of the CSV file name thing. This is good. And that's the only thing that's wrong with it. That's good. So what's different? It's like double escaped. So, but why? It's got leading quotes. Trailing quotes, and it's double escaped. I wasn't really expecting the production code to do that. So clearly there's some difference. Maybe I was sort of more expecting this one on the left. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's a Surday thing. Okay, but how do we? Is the test code right or the production code right? That's the question. Let's have a look at the production code and see what it does. Let's get rid of some of these. Yeah, okay, fine. Production code. This. So, loadout. What are we doing? Let's use the structure because this file is getting too big. Create phase is where the problem is starting. So the loadout source yes, the problem is probably because the loadout source formatter. Let's have a quick look, because we've got display for loadout source. And it just writes itself out, so that's probably okay, in fact. Okay. What happens with this loadout? So we've got this loadout source, and we load a project, and we update a phase with this loadout. So the loadout source is used here to create the phase. And a phase is created by cloning the source and inserting it. So let's look at the phase. And phase is just literally loadout source. So where's this double escaping coming from? Is the double escaping coming from the test? Let's have a look. It might be. Let's have a look at the content of loadout source in the debugger when this test uses it. So loadout source here is not double escaped or anything. Then we insert it into a map. Which has got some entries, and it should be this entry, right? Loadout. We can't see the value here. Let's watch this test fail again. No, so it's so hold on a second. So there's two places where the loadout source is used. One is there, and then one is also on the argument. So that one we know we're writing on escaped, and it looks fine. But the other one, the other place it's used is where it's added to an argument, and we can delete this old content now. And we've got this phase 1 loadout arg. Let's have a look at the args. Loadout arg. So it's been escaped at this point, and it's got double quotes around it. Because we're using debug here. I don't think we should be using debug here. That's probably why. We should just be doing some display thing. And then .to stir probably. Perhaps. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, there we go, that fixed it. Yeah. There we go. So, test passes. So, we expect now this, and we get that. So, it's just our test that was wrong, that's fine. Okay, so now, finally, oh my god, we can get back to the assigning placements to phase thing, because this is the one that needs to update the loadout file when you assign the placement to the phase. But before we can update this test, we need to update it to make it have the same CSV file. So it doesn't print out this, and this is what we were trying to do. The expected project content, it doesn't get to this yet. It does this, it does that, but it doesn't do this yet. That's okay. Let's comment this out for the moment and check the content. Because we need to update this to use the builder pattern, right? So we've got this CSV file, so we need to use the same thing there, and everything else is the same, so that's good. Right. So now we need to do the same thing here, which is old. And I suppose what we could do a test assertion. Right. We could do a test assertion at the end of this. We can probably go assert EQ expected content is the same as this one before we even try and run the command. Okay. So it's just the loadout file. That's good. Oh wait, no. Two more things. So yeah, we're supposed to be adding a phase now to these. Okay, so let's deal with adding the phase. So there should be phases added to both of the resistors. So somewhere we need to add the phases here, or optional phase. So let's say some, and then the name of this was top 1, I think. Yeah, phase top 1. And we need to duplicate that and stick that here. And then say none on all the rest of these. And all the other calls to with placements are going to need to be updated as well. The method signature to this needs to be updated. So this is going to be an option of a string reference with a lifetime the same as all the other ones. But this placements is not the same as this one now, so we need to add it. Then when we serialize the placements, we need to add it here. Phases. Oh, phase, not phases. And then we need to say if let some phase is phase, then add to the placement state map dot insert a phase converted to a string with a value which is a string value of the name of the phase. Converted to a string. We're missing some spaces just here, look. There we go. Fix that. So that's okay. But now we've broken all the other calls to with placements, which we'll see when we try and compile it. So we need to go none, 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 in all of these places. But the last test that we were actually trying to do was test 5, which now needs to have phases for R1 and R2, which we've got in there now, which is good. We did that already. I couldn't remember whether I did it or not. Oh, we missed one. There we go. Okay, so now it should just be differing with the CSV, but we've already fixed that in our builder. So we can get rid of come on, where are you? We can get rid of the old content now. And that assertion. Right, now we can run it. And it might pass, yeah. But we commented out some stuff. Which was this. So we'll put that back in. Now I'm wondering at this point whether we can do a commit without the additional changes for the loadout stuff. Let's see what we've changed. Did we change any production code? I think we added our extra argument. Yeah, we're still trying to get there. No, can't quite get there. See, I'd like to commit all these changes for the tests independently of the additional stuff that we were trying to add. I guess we could sort of undo some of the other changes and then do it. It would be nice. I don't really feel like unpicking this to do it. I could sort of do a commit with the other things and then stash the things that we didn't have and then try and get it running, see if the tests run. Let's try and do it. Let's quickly try and do it, because I think there's some value in doing it, because there's a lot of stuff that happened. So we'll say we want these things using this builder, right? Yeah. Technically we don't need this CSV bit, but I haven't got another change that doesn't have it, so we're just going to change that as well. I don't know. Yeah. Right, but if we ignore these two things, right, we might be able to get away with keeping all this. We'll do the changes, the prod changes too, because we can't not do that unless I started editing things. So I'm just trying to do a minimal commit before we start dealing with a loadout file. I don't know. Why is there a change to this? Jason. Yeah. Yeah, no, we can't do it. There's too many other changes. No, there's too many other changes. This is one of those cases where if you realise you're going to have to make some big change, you should probably stash what you're doing and then make the changes and then unstash what you're doing. Especially if you're doing like pair swaps and things like this. Yeah, so then you can do sort of like a little isolated commit, so that the next person that picks up what you're trying to do sort of knows where you're at and doesn't see all these 1,000 changes that we've currently got. But we didn't do that, and now we're in a bit of a mess when it comes to sort of like the commit. So we're just going to have to keep it as it is. It will be nice, but you know, it is what it is. So we're going to continue on. We're going to continue on, and we're going to try and make everything work. Right. So we've got this failing test, unmatched ordered element, and it doesn't print out this. Now, so this is what it actually printed out, right? And this is what we expected it to print out. So we're sort of nearly there with this bit, but we're not actually doing anything with the file yet, which will be the next part. So we've got loading loadout with a source of a loadout source. It feels like the planner should not be using that. There we go. Right, let's have a look what it does now. That looks a bit better, but there should probably be single quotes around this. And we should update the test so that it wants single quotes in here. Hey, and it passes. There we go. Right. Good, 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 good. Right, so we can now write the CSV file for the loadout, which we can then read in the production code and update accordingly. So our other test, let's do a work in progress commit. Yeah. Yeah, something like that. Work in progress. Use build pattern, and then at the end of it, we'll squash this. So it all passes at the moment, and then we'll review everything at the end. So we'll just do a work in progress commit. Done ski. Right. So now we need to write a CSV file that we're going to need to have updated. So what we want is a CSV file that doesn't contain the resistors in the loadout, such that the resistors are then added to the loadout. The parts of the resistors are added to the loadout. Right. So where we create the phase, in the tests, create phase. Right. Somewhere here we specify the loadout arg, and we do some assertions where we say created a phase, but we don't print out anything about the loadout. I'm wondering whether we need to do anything here, like, should the loadout file exist when you create the phase? And if the loadout file doesn't exist when you create the phase, should creating a phase fail? Or should just, when you add parts to a loadout file that doesn't exist, it just creates the file? I mean, if we worked on that latter thought, where we just create the file, and then we assert the file contents afterwards, then that would probably be okay to start with, I suppose. Yeah, let's just assert the contents of that file after we've assigned a part to it and go from there. So, In one of our other tests, well, project content. So yeah, okay. So we've got this and project content. We've got this, right? So if we do the same thing here, and say loadout, phase 1 loadout content. And then we've got a file that we can read, which is the phase 1 loadout. This should probably be called path here, because it's a path buff and the other ones have path on it. So let's just fix that. And then we're going to print it out. And then we're going to say this thing is the expected one of these things. So we need to create this. And we're just going to inline CSV here. Right. Our other test has got some assertions for loadout files, or I think it might create some. I don't remember. Let's have a look at the variant builder. No, not that. This. And let's just search this for load. Do we have loadout items? We've got source, test loadout records. So here we're using Surday to write loadout records. Such that they can be read. So we could create the loadout file's expected content in a string buffer using Surday, but then our builder pattern and our way of it's all going to be mismatched, so I'm not currently quite sure which way to do this. But I know at some point we're going to have to write these same records to this CSV file such that one can be updated. We could create it inline. It feels like we should just reuse some of this and then perhaps update the other builder pattern to use these records or something. I don't know at the moment. I don't really like the builder pattern as it is by just like creating the random JSON objects and using those tuple structures everywhere, because it's not pretty to work on. Probably made the wrong decision when we were initially doing that. Okay. So this uses a writer to write stuff, but we know that we can write to a vector of U8s. We decided that before, right? And this has got a writer of a file, and it goes from path. Let's see how we can create perhaps we should create another builder pattern for this CSV content so that we can use the builder pattern to A, create the file that we want to create, and B, use it to create the expectation as well. It doesn't seem entirely hideous. Right, where does this live? It lives in the variant builder test. Right. What do we got in here? We've got this building temporary CSV files. How about we go mod loadout builder. And create a file for it. Alright. Then take that test loadout record and move it into here, and then run all the tests for the variant builder and fix up the paths if it doesn't compile by importing it from that structure loadout builder, which needs to then be public. Okay. Yeah, and then fix up these things. All right. Okay, that works. So now we can reuse this and create our builder somewhere here. So let's go back to the planner tests and not do that, but instead go loadout builder new, and let's say dot with items, I think we called them, and the items have three things. They have a reference, they have a manufacturer, and they have a part number. So we don't have a reference yet, a feeder reference. We do have a manufacturer, which is going to be res manufacturer 1, and we do have a part number, which is going to be res 1. But we need an array of these things, or a slice of these things, and therefore each of these things needs to be in a tuple structure. But we don't want to do that because it's bad. We don't want to use these tuple structures. So but do we want to use the records here directly? Because then that's sort of tying the builder to CSVs. But I don't know. I mean, then you go from like this test object to this test record, and it's like, Let's just use the records for now. We're going to do it like this. We're going to import that and add the missing fields. And then, well, you see here it's got an empty string. I mean, see, this is why it's kind of weird, right? I mean, because then this would be a loadout CSV builder, which has CSV records. But you have to sort of mirror the production objects structures into the tests, or you have to get specific. Let's get specific and just go with it for the sake of progress. So that's that one, that's that one, that's that one. And then we go dot toString. And the other option, another option for this builder might be like save and then you give it a file name. But in this case, we're creating an expectation for a test. So we're going to try that and see where we get. Loadout builder. It's going to need some records, which is going to be probably a slice of loadout record. This is going to need a lifetime, which is the lifetime of the builder, and all the things in it need to have the same lifetime as the builder or longer. Right, so now we can go impl this. Okay, and then we can do the hub fun new, which returns self. Is this going to be a slice, I suppose, the records? Well, I mean, we could have an empty vec here. Let's just go with that. Fine. There are no records. Right, good. Oh. Why is it complaining? Yeah. Can we not do that? What do we do with our other builder? New default. Oh, we need to derive default. That's right. There we go. Right. Then the next thing we need to do was import that into our planet test. Somewhere here. There we go. So we can create a new one, and now we need a with items method. And we do the builder pattern, which is always returning self, and you take self, but it needs to be mutable. And then we need to return the self, and we need to say self.records is some records, and these are the records. There we go. But there might be more than one. So we want to slice, not an array. And it's bitching because it doesn't know the lifetime of this. Yeah, okay. So we got that. That's good. And now we need this toString thing. And this is where we need to use the writer to make the records, to serialize the records to whatever. So we'll do that. Hub fun toString. So, in order to use one of these writers, we need a vector apparently, because vec implements write. So we'll say let content equal, and this is going to be of type vec u8. Right. And you can convert this to a string somehow. Don't remember how. Was it a string from? Can we take a? We've got a character from a string reference. From a string. Yeah, look, here we go. Look, from UTF-8 unchecked. And we need a bunch of bytes. Yeah, this one. There we go. Right, so now we need to use the writer, and we've got a vector which we can write into. So the way that we used the variant builder to serialize stuff was we created a writer from a path. So let's see what we can do here. We don't have this. Let's see, from writer, yes, content, and this is going to need to be mutable. Okay, so we've got a writer of vec u8, CSV writer. This is good. Okay, so now we can serialize these loadout records in the same way. We can go for record in self.records. If let, but we need to, but records is optional. So we need to go, if there are some records in self.records. Oh, we don't have self. We'll try it like this. It's probably got two iter, does it? Iter gives you a reference to stuff back, so we'll try that. Oh no, this is supposed to be records.iter, not self.records.iter. There we go. And now we've got a reference to a loadout record, which we can then say write a serialize the record. Okay, and then at the end of this, we go probably writer.flush. And I always I still struggle to like come up with useful things to put in these expect messages. It says you're supposed to go, we recommend the expect message are used to describe the reason you expect the result to be okay. Right? I expect this to pass because there shouldn't be any out of memory errors or failures. Expect no failures. I never find these expect things useful. Like value unwrap, like it never fails. I mean, it's test code, right? So you don't expect it to fail. So just unwrap it. Anyway, okay, so fine. Apparently this serialize can fail as well, so we're just gonna okay it. Maybe we should just OK this one as well. It gives you an option. Because results, IDEs and linting tools say that you must use a result, but options it doesn't care about. So let's just use OK on all these things. Fine. Converts it to an option, and then we ignore the option. But if it's not OK, it panics. Or does it? It doesn't. If it's an error, then it just goes, whatever. But is that right? Do we want it to fail? Should we unwrap it? Should we go unwrap? We probably should, because we want to know if we're not serializing things, don't we? And we want to know if we're not flushing. We don't want to just silently ignore a failing flush in the test. Yeah, probably that's right. But now it's bitching about this. Value used after being moved, right. So what? Maybe we need to specify a reference here. No, from writer. What does this take? It takes something that you can write to. But how do you get it out? Do you go into inner or something at the end of it? How do you access the thing that's being written to? I've got a vector. How do I get this? How do I use this content? From writer. Is there an example? Into inner. Here we go. I thought there'd be something like that. Into inner gives you a result back, and there might be an error doing that for some reason. Implementation of inherent method. Maybe as stirring. Yeah, we'll shut it up. Yeah. Aye. This one. Yeah. Okay. Fine. So we can create it. We can create a CSV file. Yay. So now what we need to do is load up the actual CSV file that was there and then compare it to what we expect. Fine. We've done all that. We did that already. I forget what we're doing. Okay, let's run it. Not that one. This one. It failed. It failed because probably those things aren't in the CSV file. Hopefully, that's why it failed. The system cannot find a file. Well, that's unexpected. I guess it's not that unexpected because we never created the file in the first place. Okay, so the question is, what should create the file? Should the test create it, or should adding a placement to a loadout source add it? Create the file. Should it create it? Who should create the file? Should the file exist? Do we just want to help the user should we expect that the file already exists when we add the phase? Like, the source should probably exist. But what? Maybe it should always exist when you try and add parts to it, so that if the file was accidentally moved, you get like an error or something. I think the file should already exist. I don't know though. I'm not sure. I can see some failure scenarios where a user would create a project, then rename their loadout file, and then add a bunch of parts to a phase, which then, if the system created the file, would then be added to a file, and the old file that the user had previously said they wanted to use would still remain on the file system, and would have whatever was in there, and then it might confuse the user a bit. So I think the file shouldn't be created by the tool when you assign placements to it. The file should exist. Creating a phase could create a CSV file. That would make more sense. So how about, in our create phase thing, we create the CSV file if it doesn't exist. And then in the test for it, have an assertion for a message that says loadout file created. Let's do that. Like if you specify .csv at the end and the file doesn't exist, then you create a CSV file and you say create a CSV file. Yeah. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. Right. So we've got this phase which has got this on it, right? So we can do an assert. And we could say created loadout and then let's say source, and this needs to be like a formatted thing, which is annoying, so we're going to say loadout creation message. And we're going to format a new message with that in it. No. Okay. With that in it. And we're going to say it should be context.loadout path.toStir. Can we do that or not? No. .toStir.run. Okay. And this is moaning because this needs to be .toString. No? No. It needs to be a reference. There we go. So now we can poke the production code to say this. We're going to grab that. Go to the planner. And where we create a phase, update phase, create a phase, loadout. So maybe here. I don't know, ensure loadout perhaps? Maybe we put it at the top first and do it first, and then perhaps change the order of these. Yeah, that's probably better, because then it won't create the phase if the loadout can't be ensured. Okay. Loadout source. ID keeps failing to do this properly. Then we're going to print that, but it's going to be this. We just do that, don't we? Yeah, right. Okay. But we're going to say that, and because the only type of source that we're dealing with at the moment is CSV files, we're just going to create it if it doesn't exist. Let load out CSV. I think we've got some other code which already reads loadout files from a source in the other variant builder thing. And we've got some loaders for this. Yeah, here it is, look. So we create a path buffer from it, then you create a path from it, and then you create a file from it, I think. Something like that. Let's say I don't know. How do you see if a file exists? Can you? What options have we got here? Oh look, we've got an exists on a loadout path. So I guess we can go if not exists, then create it. Create loadout path. Do you give it a reference? Do you give it the whole thing? And then I guess move this into here somewhere, and we don't actually need to read the file here, we just need to create it. And I guess this can fail, because this is going to return a result, right? And we say OK at the bottom. There we go. Path buff. Oh. Yeah. So now where we call that, we can put a question mark on there, because this is already returning an anyhow result, right? And maybe it works. Maybe we get a bit further. No. Okay, so we're going to need to either make this a reference. Yeah. Mismatch types. Sure. Okay. Now what happens? When we create a phase, it doesn't print out this. But it does say created phase, right? Created loadout. What happened? Yeah, we've got this loadout thing here. Yeah, because some of the other ones have like a /n at the end of here, which would cause this to fail. It's sort of asserting this bit, but we've got this bit on here which we need to look at really. Yeah, we'll come back to that. But it didn't print out this. The question is why? It just didn't print it. That's interesting. I don't know why. What did we do wrong? Ensure loadout. It created the phase, but why didn't it create the loadout? Do we... Wait a second. I'm confused now. Because our context... We've got the sources, this phase 1 loadout, CSV. Phase 1 loadout 1 CSV. Yeah, the arguments look okay. Why didn't that work? Oh, duh, because I use format and not info. Okay, right. It should fail for a different reason now. There we go, right. So, we're supposed to have some stuff there, but we don't have the stuff there. The stuff being a CSV file. Right, so this is good. This is good. I mean, the builder worked and all the rest of it, so yeah, brilliant. So we need to now update our expectations a little bit. Because we need to add 2 items, this being the first one. And this being the second one. There we go. Right, good. So now, finally, we can do the assignments. So in the production code, we've got a loadout, right? And we've got these loadout item records. So our production code can now load the loadout items and then add to the list and then save the list. So where are we going to do that? Let's close all the other tabs. So back down to this test. Add parts to phase loadout. This is where we need to do it. All right, at this point, we've got a hash set of all the parts that need to be added to the loadout if they're not already in the loadout. Now, Have we already done anything with this loadout? No, because if we had, it would be already failing. So can we use the loader to load the loadout? Because we've got this loadout and we can go load items from a source and it gives us a vector of things or an error, right? So let's try and use this again. Load items. And then I suppose we go phase.loadout. And we just do that for the moment. Right. So this load items. Yeah. I'm going to do that. And then we're going to do this. There we go. Loadout, load items with a loadout. Reference, probably. It's a string. Right. Let's say .toString on this for now. Might need to come and update that to use the loadout source. Let's say to do use loadout source here, because this phase loadout is a loadout source. Okay, and then we get a list. Now we've got a list of things. Yay, we've got all the loadout items. So now I suppose we can iterate over the parts and add each one to the list if it's not in there. But this can fail. This can fail because why? It's just any error. Let's say or there's a thing where you inspect error or something, isn't it? Is that what we used before? Who remembers? No, I don't think it was that. We don't want to inspect the error. We want to bail early. Yeah, I suppose we can just do this, can't we? But it can't convert this to a loadout error. Let's map it here then. Do we go .map error? Yeah. So we go unable to load parts or something. We can probably improve the error messaging here. We don't. This thing isn't used yet anyway. So unable to load items. And then perhaps the source here. Sure. There we go. Oh, I suppose. Yeah, it's the only one, can't it? Yeah. Okay, fine. Right. So now we map it to a loadout error. And now we've got a vector. Yeah, okay, this looks good. So we've got load out items now. Now we can deal with the parts and the loadout items. Okay, so we're going to iterate over the parts and futz around with this list. We're going to go for part in parts, I suppose. But we don't want to take the parts out of the hash set, we just want to use the references to them probably. So I guess a loadout, we need to look and see what a loadout item is. A loadout item contains a reference, a manufacturer, and MPN. Now, yeah. So I suppose we need to say, we need to create a loadout part that we can compare. And these fields are going to come from, yeah. No. We're going to use find. And we're going to say true, just temporarily. So if it's already in it, we don't need to do anything. Match, matched. True, continue. False. I mean, I suppose we can go if matched, continue. It might be better to reduce the indentation level. If is sum. We don't care about the thing. We can do that. Yeah, there we go. Right. And then otherwise, we are going to add it to the list of loadout items. Add it to the list of, yeah, we're going to add the part to the list of loadout items. So we'd then build a loadout item. And this will be empty. The reference will be empty. The manufacturer would come from the parts manufacturer, but cloned. And this would come from the parts.mpn, but cloned. And then we will need to push that to the list of loadout items. So we've got loadout items.push loadout item. Okay. But now we need to update this. And then also add the to save list. Just save. So we need to do our comparison. So I suppose we go if the loadout item dot manufacturer is the same as the parts manufacturer and the loadout items manufacturer part number is the same as the parts manufacturer part number. But these need to be references here and equals on the equals thing. And we don't need to go if because there's nothing else to do after the if. We just need to know whether that is true or not and then return it. So yeah. Okay, so that's good. So we're going to add stuff to the list. And then we need to write the list. So we've got loadout. Maybe we should add like a save items here. Store items. Let's try that. Yeah. Something like loadout store items. And however the storer needs to store things. And we're going to say this is the source. And if there's an error when we're doing this, and we're not able to store items properly, whoopsie-daisy. I need some commas. There we go. Right, so we can do this, but we don't have this. Unable to store. Not sure why it can't quite do that. Sure. So now we need this. But we also need to pass it the list of things to store, which is loadout items, right? Right, so now we've got the method that we want to create, and we know that it needs to return some kind of error. And if there is any kind of error, then we just return that, which we'll do for now. Maybe at some point we'll have more details about the error and things like this. I don't know yet. But let's create this store items. And we'll create it in the same place as we've got this load thing, right? At the moment, this is called loaders. We only have a loading things. We only have a loading things. Now, there is another place where we're storing things, and that is when we store the placements in the variant builder. Let's go back to the variant builder. And we've got this write output CSV. And this is basically the same as one of these things that we use to save stuff, right? So, you know, it takes the source and some stuff and then gives you a result back, and then it creates a writer, and then it flushes it and returns OK. So this is the same kind of stuff that we want. So we're going to borrow some of that. And we're probably going to need to update the name of this mod. We'll do that as like another commit, I think. Pub fun store items. And maybe we can rename this loaders to stores. Yeah, that probably makes sense, because it's all just sort of data that needs to be stored somewhere, and you ask the store to get things and update things and save things, right? And then they do it however they do it. That's probably about right. Now we're going to use a loadout source, but it's going to be a string to start with. Should we use a string? No. Let's do the right thing. And we know it's going to give us a result of nothing currently, and an error. And we're going to slap that in there. And we're also going to go back to the variant builder and steal these bits and slap that in there. And then we're going to go for yeah, we need the things. What are the things? The things. The planner says the items. Here we go. So these are a vector of loadout items, but you're supposed to take a slice. So we want to, we'll say items. It's going to be a slice of loadout item. Okay. And we've got this output file name, which needs to be this dot toString. Yeah, and then we go for item in items, and then at this point we create the records, add the details to the record, and serialize the record. So we go writer.serialize, and then we do a question semicolon. Right, and then we need to give it a thing to serialize, which is a loadout item record, and it's going to have stuff in it. And when you serialize these things, yeah, I'm just trying to work out whether you use a reference or not. It's not a reference. But this can fail. Why is it not giving me the item record? Because these need to be public. There we go. So I suppose we go item.manufacturer toString. No, dear. This one's supposed to be reference, isn't it? Right, but this probably doesn't implement serialize, yeah, because we've only ever deserialized it. So now we'll need to add serialize to it, and we're just going to do the same thing for serialization and deserialization. Okay. Yeah, fine. So now our saver can save things. Let's run it. This needs to be a .as slice, I think. Or can we just pass this over? We might just be able to pass it over here. Oh, this needs to be a reference. Types. This doesn't need to be converted to a string here because we said we're using the right type. Dun da 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 da. It passes. I love it when it works first time. That's great. So we're updating loadout. Yay. How do we know that we're updating a loadout? Let's just refresh our memory of what we said. We said the expected loadout content is supposed to have some CSV records in it. And we print it out and assert it. So somewhere down here there should be details of a CSV file. There they are, look. Ta-da! Magic. Happy days. Happy days. So is this done now? I don't know. I think it might be. Let's put a little. I feel like putting a orange tick until I know. Right. I think it's time for a commit because all the tests pass, and then we can look at the to-dos and so on. Okay, what do? We let's have a look. Yeah, we added a builder for loadouts. That's not very exciting. Let's do a commit for these changes and then merge the two messages together. So use build pattern for loadout items. Okay, so we definitely did that. But what was the main assertion? So I guess the main thing we're doing is update loadout when assigning parts to assigning placements to a phase. Okay, that's the main thing that we did. So we look for the message to make sure that loadout is loaded, and then I suppose we could. I can do it as a second commit after this. We can improve it a little bit. We can say the things that were added, and we can print that out, and then look for those messages. We'll do that as a second commit. That's probably something useful to do. Okay. So we got the names of these files. We look for the messages in the phase. Now, I suppose we do that. Yeah. I suppose we ensure the loadout source is valid when creating a phase. Yeah. I am a little bit concerned that if the CSV writer writes to a file, that the CSV writer creates the file, and we don't want it to create the file if it doesn't exist. Because that's what we said. That's what we said earlier. Yes. Let's have a look. So here we could say if it doesn't, we could throw an error here. But do we want to throw an error here? Because the first time you create a loadout, you want to probably store the items, right? But probably if we've got this concept of stores, you could probably go assert store or ensure store, and then have a call to that before you try and store things in the store itself. And in the case of a store for a CSV file, it would make the file if it didn't exist with nothing in it. Or rather check that the file exists, and then maybe you can have create store if it was a CSV file. So I don't want to add the sort of checking for the file exists to here. I'm wondering whether there's an option to this writer builder here now to CSV writer. Yeah. Build a CSV writer. The file is truncated if it already exists. Yeah. It's sort of like we want a different one of these. Probably we need to check that ourselves. From path takes a path. Okay. I was just wondering about that. Or not. Yeah, I don't want to change this because store, it's doing storing. And that's what we're saying. Loading and storing. Load will fail if the file doesn't exist. What does from path do here? Okay, so yeah, I think we're probably okay in this particular case because it's going to try and load the things and then it's going to try and save the things, but the loading will fail if the file doesn't exist, so we don't have to add anything to the writer, so I think we're okay. Okay, let's carry on with doing the commit. So we've got the builder, yes, all this. The phases, we've got the CSV files, we've got the loadout args, the messages, the expected content. Yeah, okay, so that's all good. The variant builder now uses the loadout records from its new home. So that's okay. And we moved it, which is fine. So that's all okay. The in-test has a new mod with a loadout builder, fine. And then the production code ensures loadouts. That's okay when you create a phase. And we've got this loaders. which can now store things, which is a bit weird. We're going to fix this. And we can serialize and deserialize the record, fine. And we've removed some white space, which is fine. And then in the planner, we've got some imports, we've got some errors, we've got a load and save thing. Add parts to phase loadout. We're not using this project. I suppose that's interesting. Let's remove it from here. Yeah. Make sure everything runs. Yeah, that's good. We've got some unused imports, which we've got to ditch. Yeah, they're not in a tuple structure. Make sure it still runs. More unused imports. Yeah. Yeah. Let's add the error here so that we don't lose the error. All right. But this then needs to be a tuple structure. And this needs to be the anyhow error, I think? Or is it this error? Damned if I know. This thing is this. This is an anyhow error. Okay. This then needs to be a tuple structure. Two things. And this probably needs to be... Ooh, I don't know. Why is this moaning? Oh, I see. Can we... do this? I don't know how you're supposed to use this. Error. Don't know. I need to look at this error macro. Where does it live? This error. What are you supposed to do? If you've got two things, oh, you're supposed to use this sort of like inline format, aren't you? That's why. Fine. It's supposed to be like this. So this is going to be source reason, perhaps. And then you can name these things up here, yeah. And then delete this. I think that's how you do it. Reason or cause. I don't know, cause might be better here. Okay, I'm probably doing it wrong again still. Uh-oh. I don't know. Why do I get this error? Oh, maybe. It's moaning about the source. Let's continue. And deal with both of them in a moment. And I'm just going to compile it. Yeah. Because I'm not sure. Oh, what's going on here? Missing the quotes. There we go. Okay, let's try again. As did an error, but it's not satisfied. Shall we try using a string here? Probably makes more sense in this particular case. I don't really want to deal with, because you don't need to use this for any reason. No. Hey. Okay, so we get the same problem. Do we need to return a boxed error or something? I don't know. Maybe do we have debug on this? Yeah. So why can't we do this? Why do we need it? As din error. It's moaning about this, but why? But why? Hmm. Oh, do we need to spec? No. Oh gosh. Am I importing the right thing? Hold on. This error here. Yeah, it's this error. Oh, and then we've got anyhow error here. So we've got a mix of different error types. I think it's part of what might be giving us issues. Not sure. What are you supposed to do? So here's another way of doing it. Out of bounds, then you've got a thing, and you've got a thing, you've got these. And you go dot whatever. Let's just try this. I don't think this is what we need to do, but I'm curious. Let's first try this, and then on the second one we'll go whatever, and then go dot source and dot reason, just to see what happens. Nothing. Why do we need this? Do we need, does it need to be a boxed thing? No. Huh. What does this return? Anyhow result. I don't know. I don't know. From trivia. Right. There's this from thing. does not contain any other fields beyond source, error, and possibly a backtrace. Oh, it's special. So my loadout source has got the name of a field source, and then there's special handling in a macro to dick around with it. Okay, fine. Let's just say loadout source. So we're going to rename it source is special. We're just going to say source and reason. Delete these. And then use loadout source dot clone. Like we were originally. And then let's see where that gets us. Do these need to be named? I forget. Yes, because I'm being stupid. I don't need the colon, I don't think. Okay, now the errors have gone. Yes, there we go. That was a weird one, wasn't it? You wouldn't guess that unless you read this. Like source special. Fine. I don't remember what I was doing before we did this now. Improving error messages or something? Why were we changing this? Does anybody remember? No, I don't remember. Why does the test fail? Oh, we have a random ordering issue. Damn it. Okay, fine. The test is failing randomly. There we go, look. So we need to fix that. That's not good. So we probably need something else instead of a... Well, I don't know what we need. Oh, God, what are we going to do now? Because we've got... Oh, no. Now, is it the... Okay, we need to look at this a bit more closely. So, we need to know what it looks like when it passes and what it looks like when it fails, because we don't know which one, whether it's the test assertions or the production assertions that are getting transposed. Right? Or reordered. So I guess in this test, where we print out the actual thing, let's print out actual and then expected. We'll do it like this. Actual and then expected. And we print it out because we need to know whether when it passes, it won't print anything out normally if the assertion is okay. That's why we need to print out both. So here's what it looks like when it passes. Somewhere down here. Here we go. So we've got res1, res2, res1, res2. Let's wait for it to fail. Pass. Let's look at it again, because it might have res2, res2. Nope. So here it's failed. And now it's got res 1 in the expectation first, which is good. And the actual has got res 2 first. Do we care about the ordering? Probably. We probably shouldn't futz around with the ordering. So we should probably keep the ordering consistent. How do we do that? Now, is the order messed up when we load it, or is the ordering messed up when we save it, or while we're manipulating it after we've loaded it? I guess we need to go back to this. I suppose what we can do, because a bit ago I said that it would be nice to assert the messages came out in the right order. That would then, if we did that, that would then tell us the processing order of this, and then we'd be able to distinguish whether the processing order was wrong or whether the storing order was wrong. So we'll do that. So we've got this loading loadout, and then this is where we futz around with a list of parts, right? Which is a hash set. And this is probably where the problem is coming from, because things in a hash set might not be ordered. So we probably need like an index map or something, or a B tree set or something instead of a hash set. That's probably where the problem is coming from. So what we want to do for each one of these is print out something here. So if we do a trace where we say checking for part in loadout, part, right? Something like that. And then in our test, we can add assertions for that. Probably something like, we've got, do we have parts that we can use here? No. My mouse wheel isn't working properly. I think I need to clean it. This is one of those cases where we go to do, and we do it twice. And because we know we're going to have an actual string here now, we can do it here. And we know there's going to be 2 of these things. And we're not printing anything when we load or save things, so probably we need to fix that. Let's rename this one to loadout message, and then rename this one to storing. Assert that this one exists at the end. And say we're storing it. And then in our production code, borrow this message and put it here. This should be lowercase. Right. Okay. What do we get now? Obviously it's going to fail because we've got a to-do in there. But we've got this checking for part, and then we've got, this is where it fails, so we've got a res 2. So let's grab what we expect and put that here. And then grab the other expectation and put that here. And then sprinkle some quotes. I guess actually, oops. Now that I think about this sprinkling quotes thing, we could probably go r hash, oops, hash like this and put a hash at the end here. I might do that in other places because that's a bit better, isn't it? Then what happens? Why isn't it like the second one? Oh, it's because of this. Okay. So it's out of order again. So we're continuing getting this out of order, but it does pass occasionally, which is what we want. Right. Well, we don't want that. But we want to know that these assertions work. Righto. So now we need to fix the ordering problem, which is going to be that hash set. It's going to be this. What else can we use here? So this part, where does it come from? Hash set, assign placements to phase. And we're returning a hash set here. But this is no good. We need something else here. B tree set. I'm hoping that's the only change we need to do. Because now this is a B tree set, but this needs to be updated to take a B tree set. And it might just work. It does. And it should work consistently now. I can't get it to fail. Fixed. Cool. Alright. Unused import hash set. Let's fix that. Yeah, it doesn't because it's passed to it. That's fine. Okay, let's run all the tests. That one. Go. Hey, everything passes. Happy days. Right. Carry on with the commit. Which is what we were doing when we realised there were some issues. So B tree set. So we've got unable to load things, unable to store things. Just clean up those white space there. Removing the project, improving the error messaging, adding parts. This is the main bit that we did, which we've got here. Got some trace messaging. We're using a hash set. Yeah, we're good. We're done. Commit. Right. So now we've got the work in progress commit and the actual commit that we just did. Right, we've got this work in progress one and then we've got this one. But we need to merge those two together. Should we do it from the IDE? Let's try it from the IDE. Normally I do this stuff from the command line. So we're going to squash these. And then I suppose we just put this here. And squish them. Come on, squish. Squish. Squished. Yay. Okay, done. Done skidoodle. Yeah. Okay. So we've got one commit that we can push. And we've got this to do here. We can fix this. Load items is used here, so that one's easy to fix. The other one comes from here, and this is called by this, which has got an option of string here because build contains a loadout things. So if we change this to loadout source, right? This is now an optional loadout source, and therefore this can be an optional loadout source. And then this can be changed now to be loadout source, and now it's the same as the other one. And then this is where we go to string, right? But that's broken the other usage of this in our planner, which now doesn't need to call toString on. There we go. And we should be able to run all the tests again, and everything should still pass. It does. That was good. Happy days. Planner. Well, I suppose this is for both of them. Well, this is variant builder, isn't it? Well, it's both of them really. Use loadout source in consistently. Yeah, I suppose so. Let's have a look. So that's what we fixed, and now both the planner and the variant builder use it consistently. Sure. Let's push that. Done skidoo. So I think this little ticky thing here, I think we can change the colour of it to a nice happy green. Yeah, there we go. Save. Done. Right. So, let's think about what we need to do next. I'm not going to do it next, but let's think about it. The next one on the list is this one. What? No. Wrong tool. This one. Here we go. This one. That's what we're doing next. Oh, I pressed... Oh, dear me. Oh, everything's going wrong. Right. I accidentally pressed the wrong thing on here. Okay. Okay, we're good. Right. Save. Assign feeders to loadout items. So what's currently happening is that when you assign a placement to the phase, they get updated in the project, and the placement's parts gets added to the loadout that was specified for the phase. But there's no feeder on it yet. Let's just look at the test again so that you can see what I mean. Planner. So when we do this, this is what we get out. I suppose we can actually remove the other one, but let's leave it there for now. This reference is basically the reference to the feeder. So we need to have another thing that lets us update that reference to be the feeder that you want to use for that part, which is what this is about. So this should be fairly easy, I think, because this is, well, what are we doing? I mean, is this even in the same tool? because currently we've got this, we've got a loadout. Probably is in the same tool, but it doesn't necessarily need to be, because the loadout currently is just like some CSV file currently, and it's just this step is completely isolated from all the other things. Yeah, it's completely isolated from all the other things, but it is still something that needs to happen. So we probably do need to like have a, I don't know, some structure that lets us do this, or some method somewhere. But it is isolated from all the other stuff, because all you need to update is a CSV file for currently a CSV file for a loadout, and change it. Yeah, it's isolated. Interesting. And then the next thing, this one's going to be more interesting, is choose a placement ordering for each phase. Generate some artifacts. Yeah, we're getting pretty close to this now. I think we've done the hard bits now. The placement ordering might be a little bit more tricky, mind you. Yeah, okay. So on the next stream, we'll probably do one of those two things. I might do the assign feeders before the next stream, and then get onto the placement ordering, or we might find some other stuff. I might do a little bit of refactoring as well. I think we need to update that loaders mod to be like feeder stores or something like that, like we said. Yeah, and I'll see what else comes out and falls out in the wash. Right, I'm going to get some lunch, because it's lunchtime and we need some munchies. And then I'm going to go for a dip in the pool because it's hot. Right, so don't forget to click like, subscribe, and all these things. And just remember, folks, it's only software. How hard can it be? We're going to find out on the next one.